Welcome to the channel. Today I'm going to be making the Batman armor, just the chest and abs. Next video I'm going to do the shoulders and biceps and slowly start to put all this together. But without me rambling anymore, let's just go ahead and get right into the video. Okay, you're going to need 2 of each pattern piece, numbered 1 through 7. And you may notice, for example, on the patterns, the top it says bevel. On the 7s, you're going to need an inward bevel so that it has an inward angle along the top of your piece. Same with the 6s and the bottoms of the 3. All the other cuts are straight. Next, I'm going to take some contact cement and glue the 1, 2, and 3 together and the 4 and 5 together, but I'm going to glue them offset. Okay, so there they are, 1, 2, and 3, and 4 and 5 glued together. And then I heated them with my heat gun a little bit just to put a slight curve in them, and a slight curve on this as well. There are several ways you could actually go with this. One is to actually try and make this hinged like it is in the film, so that these two sides move independently of the center whenever you open and close your arms. I'm not doing that. Part of the reason is I just don't think the foam will hold up. I started off making these patterns that way and realizing it's just too thin there. The foam just isn't strong enough. But 3D printers, I'm excited to see what they do with this. Now I'm going to glue this one to this one, again with a slight, well actually rather large offset between the two. Okay, I glued on my 7s and then put my 6 on and overlapped it and just held it in place with some super glue. Next, the only thing I'll have to do is to join it together, but just at the flat points on the number 3s, because there is a V piece that I'm going to glue in from the rear once I make sure this is aligned in the way I want it on my chest. Okay, I glued in my V piece, and you could use 2mm foam, I suppose. I used a piece of scrap leather. It's super durable, but it does give a little bit of flex and movement. And yeah, I think this is going to look pretty cool, hopefully. But this is, of course, going to need to be attached to the abdominals, which we have not made yet. So time to start working on the lower part of this. Okay, for the lower, you're going to need 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s, and 2 number 3s. And I'm going to contact cement this together, and then the 3 pieces together, and then join them both in the center. The base chest and the base lower. The base lower patterns are uploaded, but once again, these patterns are based off my body. Instead of doing that, you may want to just wrap your lower torso in saran wrap and then duct tape. Have someone draw a line down the center of the front and center down the back, cut it off along the front or the back, whichever is easier, and then cut that into several pieces. And that's how you'll have your patterns to fit you specifically. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is glue on my ab pieces, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The cut lines I just put in, I'm not 100% sure if there is lines or not, but from other people's artwork there is in some photos or screenshots. It looks like there is, and others there's not, but I use the center points And you can also add marks if you want to line it up with the center seam, and then I just space them out evenly, about 7-8 millimeters apart. Now I'm going to contact cement them on. Alright, all the ab pieces are on. Next, I'm going to do the same thing, lining up the side pieces, starting with one and working down. And I didn't mention it, but I am heating all these prior to that so I can put some curve in it so that they're not gluing all wonky. Okay, lastly are the three pieces that are marked UA. The UA is just short for underarm. They're going to go on the side underneath basically where your arms are going to be. And they're going to go on in that formation. Okay, now it's time to move on to the actual chest symbol, which I did not do because I was just kind of avoiding this because it's a bit meticulous, so I put it off till last. This one I've already glued in, and I couldn't get that good of a cut because since this is all 5/16, I can't really use 3mm unless I use thicker foam, and then I think I just look too ridiculous. But being that what it is, I had to use 2mm for both patterns, both for the edge here and for this. Now, for this piece, it's just the number 4 chest pattern. That's it. And then I beveled the bottom edge. Once this is in, I'll put a couple detail cuts up here at the top that I'll show, but that's pretty much it. And to glue this in, I'm actually not using contact cement for once. I'm just using Gorilla Super Glue. It takes about 30 to 60 seconds till it fully bonds. So I got a little bit of time to just kind of finagle it wherever I want. Okay, for the other part of the emblem, the finished piece looks like this. And I've already finished one. There's this middle filler piece that I round the edges on with my Dremel, and this is a personal thing, but I sanded it down to paper thin. Just gave it a nice gradual angle. Had to be very patient and careful with that, since that's not the easiest thing to do. And I also took and cut my detail line, and then the other lines marked, I didn't put the top line, but the other lines marked on the pattern are the fold points. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to put this in here, fold the top over, and fold the bottom over. Contact cement those two together, and then super glue this into place, once again along the fold line. And that's how you end up with the finished piece, which I have here. From this point, I'm going to once again use super glue and line it up with the angle and just glue it into place. Okay, next piece I've glued on is the emblem tab. And to get these holes, if it'll focus, okay. To get these holes, I just use the tip of a ballpoint pen. The 2mm craft foam that I use is very impressionable. And then just a little bit of heat on the backside to give the rounded end kind of a kicktail like on a skateboard. And same as the other one, I'm just going to super glue this on, and I just line this up with the corner there. Get it as even as possible with the other one. And that's the tabs. Okay, lastly is the emblem plate. I don't know what any of this stuff is, so it's just what I called it. But you just line that up with the corner there, like that, and I super glued that in place as well. Okay, and now that this is complete, I have attached it to this. However, as you can see, it's not solidly attached. I wanted it to be able to move as I move. So I just put it on with a couple straps of leather. You could use foam, but I don't suggest that. I just get scrap leather at Hobby Lobby. Bags of it usually run between like $5 and $9. And I just try to get one that has a lot of large pieces so I can cut strips out of it. But you could also use any sort of polypropylene strapping or whatever. But I wouldn't use foam, especially if you're going to attach this the way I am, which is going to have the straps coming up over my shoulders, very much like it does in the actual Pattinson bat suit. And you'll probably notice here all the hot glue. Prior to gluing this together, I reinforced all the seams because with them being glued offset like that, it's just not worth risking it. Okay, next is going to be the straps. It's pretty simple. I just took a 1 3/4 inch piece of 5mm EVA foam and a 1 1/4 inch piece of 2mm EVA foam. Those are going to be the straps coming off the top. And now I'm going to put some cuts in them lengthways. Cutting all of the way through the foam, but I am basically cutting just through the 2, about down to the 5. Okay, I've glued the straps on and used the heat gun to get a nice bend in them and help those lines that I cut in to open up. And the glue here on the pattern to that edge. I glued them as flush in the front as possible and reinforced it with some super glue. I may actually even run a strip of leather just to give it a little bit more strength, but next, I'm going to start adding on my velcro so I can close it in the back and cut these straps to length and put velcro so I can attach them as well. goes on, I went ahead and masked it with some tape just to cover all that stuff up a bit. And now I'm going to go ahead and Plasti dip it. Okay, the Plasti dip had time to dry, and I lightly misted this with some gray, so I didn't do it a solid gray per se. I just got it to kind of blend in as best as I could. I didn't actually use an airbrush. I just used some Duplicolor vinyl and fabric specialty coating. And it's not the same as spray paint per se. Spray paint just kind of beads up on the surface, and this is actually a plastic vinyl rubber dye, so it just kind of absorbs in and it comes out very thin. So I have a nice thin spray pattern. It's not thick like spray paint, it's more like what I would get from an airbrush without actually having to clean and use my airbrush. But now unfortunately I have to back through, paint this black. I didn't want to mask it for fear of ripping the Plasti dip off the foam, so I'm going to paint that black and then do some of the details with some Model Masters Silver Chrome. Okay, that is pretty much that. All I have to do now is wait for this to dry and try it on. However, I want to point out that since I did use enamel paint, it's not going to dry quickly like acrylic. I'm going to have to wait at least 24 hours. So keep that in mind if you've never used enamel model paints before, it takes quite a while until they dry and no longer sticky and safe to touch, so you don't get a fingerprint or a smudge. Okay, that's going to pretty much wrap it up. As always, thank you for watching. There is a link to the patterns below on Facebook. And next video will be shoulders and biceps, and I'll put patterns up for that as well. And hopefully this gave you some ideas and inspiration for your own builds and your own projects. And as always, thank you for watching, and have a great day.